Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. Happy Tuesday morning to you all. We have an update on the Macron versus Owens case. We have an update. So I said, I'm just going to jump on here real quick. I just read it. I think I understand it for the most part. So let me go ahead and bring it up here very quickly. I hate to say this, but it's another big hurry up and wait situation. So down at the bottom of this docket, and I did put the docket down in the description of this video, and I'll drop it in the chat just in case somebody did not catch it already. Bang. All right. So down here at the bottom, reply brief filed, date docket January 13th, 2026, defendants reply brief in support of their motion to dismiss and to strike the First Amendment complaint, certificate of compliance with typeface requirements and type volume limitations, certificate of service to the defendants, reply brief in support of their motion to dismiss and to strike the First Amendment complaint. Amendment complaint accepted by, and that's ERM, somebody's initials, transaction, blah, blah, blah. All right, so what does this all mean? Okay, so I had to jump over here to the chat. I had to jump over to Chat GPT and just ask it to explain. Long story short, let's get down to it. The judge set some limits, told them they have to reply, that Candace had to reply to the motion to dismiss. And long story short, they came through, the word limit was followed, the typeface was followed, the proper servicing was done, and this is the last scheduled briefing before the judge decides. So the next thing we're going to have is the judge deciding whether or not this case is going to go forward or whether or not it's going to be thrown out. So this is going to be the next, or I'm sorry, this is the last scheduled briefing at all. There's no more back and forth unless the judge asks more questions back and forth. Otherwise, the proverbial ball is in the judge's court. And so what that means is the judge approved the extra spacing. He approved the deadline. The defendants came through with the deadline. They approved all the other requirements and they filed their final argument. And so now the judge is going to review everything and he's going to decide whether the case gets dismissed in whole or in part or moves forward. That's the summation of it. I really, truly don't see how this gets thrown out. Now, of course, getting thrown out could happen. It could happen. I just don't see how. It seems like they have a good case. And again, I'm not saying this just because I want the Macrons to shellac Candace, but I don't see how it would get thrown out. It's not a freedom of speech issue. It's not a jurisdiction issue. There's not. I don't understand. The only thing I can think of, and I've heard people talk about it, is Candace having to go from Tennessee to Delaware to fight this case. I think that's probably the only one, the hardship of that, quote unquote. I'm sure she's going to lean heavy on being a mom of 4, having young children, so on and so forth. I can see that, hear that being part of her argument, but I don't think it's going to fly, in my opinion. Now, I do want to bring in Lost Beyond Pluto. She surmised, or rather summarized, the case. And I think it's interesting to hear what French lawyers think about this versus just how we here in the United States think about it. And remember, I am not a lawyer, so by any means or measure. So if you just hopped in, the judge, Candace's people, they gave all the information. They filed the final brief in motion. And so now it's on the judge to decide if he's going to throw the case out or is going to keep moving forward. As I just said before, I don't see why it wouldn't move forward. I don't see any good reason why not to, but I do trust that other legal minds know what they're talking about. So we're going to look at Lost Beyond Pluto. She did a great job of explaining this, and I thought it was fun to hear her. I like her take on things. So I wanted to bring her in. Shout out to Lost Beyond Pluto. If the mods can make sure we drop her link in the chat, that'd be super dope as well. Now, this is a quick video, so let's bring it in and let's go. As always, green hearts in the chat where you can hear.
That was the verdict passed a week ago on Monday, the 5th of January, by a Parisian court against the 10 defendants that have been prosecuted on behalf of Brigitte Macron for the crime of cyberbullying. If you're wondering what this case is about, by the way, I would recommend that you watch an older video that I'll be putting up here in the cards, since we're speaking about a French case, so that you can get up to speed with the facts of the case and the implications, which, yes, we will be touching upon today as well, but that was one of the main focuses of the last video. So go ahead and check that out if you'd like the full picture. But in essence, Brigitte Macron had filed criminal charges. This is way different to a civil defamation suit against 10 defendants in France for cyberbullying, basically for various statements that they have made or even retweeted online surrounding not only her gender or questions around it, but also the questionable way in which her relationship with her now husband, Emmanuel Macron, first started all those years ago in the early 90s. The court pointed to particularly degrading, insulting, and malicious comments referring to false claims regarding alleged trans identity and alleged pedocriminality targeting Brigitte Macron. 8 defendants were handed suspended terms of 4 to 8 months, meaning they won't have to actually serve them, while a 9th man was sentenced to 6 months in jail over his absence from the hearing. And according to Le Monde, they and a 10th person were ordered to follow a course against hate speech online. In addition to that, 3 people who were considered to be the key instigators also had their social media accounts suspended for 6 months. All defendants were ordered to collectively pay Brigitte 10,000 euros for moral damages. The presiding judge over the case described the claims of the French First Lady's alleged pedophilia as malicious, degrading, and insulting, saying the defendants had received sentences for intentionally harming the complainant. Macron's lawyer stated that the importance of this is actually setting a precedent so that other people, particularly teenagers, don't have to face this type or this level of abuse online. I suppose we can start off with the first question. Is this trial victory definitive proof that all of these claims against Brigitte are indeed false? The answer is pretty clear according to the law. But before we get to that, let's have a look at what Candace Owens has to say, because she doesn't seem to think that this victory means anything. So in response to this victory, Candace posted the following on X. Once again, these headlines are written in a way to deceive the public into believing that Brigitte proved she was a woman. No, France just has cyberbullying laws. In another post, she doubles down and basically says that Brigitte is securing cyberbullying claims against people for discussing his, she says, dark past. Now, interestingly, she's not wrong when it comes to whether this has now proved or disproved, rather, the allegations against Brigitte. Because as per the law in France, just a reminder, the French system is foreign to me. It's a civil law system rather than a Commonwealth one. So I am doing my best. Very happy to be corrected. But as per the law, to qualify as cyberbullying, which, by the way, cyberbullying isn't even really a standalone criminal offense in France. It's instead considered an aggravating circumstance of moral harassment under the penal code. But regardless, the elements of the crime, so what needs to be proven to satisfy the crime and secure conviction, is the following. First, repeated actions or statements, which may come from one or several individuals acting together. Second, a deterioration in the victim's living conditions, resulting in harm to their physical or mental health. And thirdly, the use of a digital or online medium, such as social networks, messaging apps, or forums. French case law also confirms that medical proof of harm is not a prerequisite. So the mere possibility of an impact on the victim's well-being is enough. Notice how none of the elements require that the statements had to be false. This is not a defamation claim after all. And so you can technically be guilty of cyberbullying or cyber harassment even if you were bullying someone or harassing someone over something that is true. Now, again, I am making no assertions here, no implications. I am simply stating the law, objectively speaking. Truth or falsity are not requirements to satisfy these elements. So if someone's got a big nose and you're bullying them about their big nose, even though it's a fact, it's true that they have a big nose, they can still successfully get you prosecuted for harassing them over it. So on the face of it, Candace is not wrong. This doesn't prove that Brigitte has successfully disproved the allegations against her. Now, as a quick reminder, and I believe we did mention this in the last video on this topic, Brigitte and Emmanuel have stated that they have evidence, which they will be bringing forward in their defamation trial against Candace to formally rebut her allegations. The second question is this going to have any impact on the defamation trial in Delaware if it even goes ahead? As I've mentioned, this is a criminal trial taking place in an entirely different jurisdiction, being France. It's not a common law jurisdiction. And so the likelihood of this case impacting Candace's case seems to be quite remote. I will say that, as per my understanding, in the US, in court, you can reference foreign law. However, they are not binding. And more importantly, their admissibility depends on their probative value and whether it is relevant or fair, basically, to introduce in trial. So if the Macron's lawyers want to introduce this victory in France, I don't know if it's being appealed, it might be, but if they want to bring this up in court at a jury trial, then I suppose, based on how things normally go, they're going to have to argue why this should be introduced as evidence, because Candace's side might argue that this evidence has nothing to do with this current trial, and if anything, it's just going to sway the jury in the Macron's favor. So it would be unfair. It would be too prejudicial to Candace because it doesn't have much relevance to this case, or the prejudicial nature of it outweighs its probative value. At the same time, we do also have to remember that this was a cyberbullying case in France, not a defamation case.
Correct.
And that is not what Brigitte and Emmanuel are alleging against Candace. Bullying doesn't even come into it. And so from where I'm standing right now, or sitting rather, the probative value might not outweigh any prejudicial effect the evidence might have. Just my opinion. Again, happy to be corrected. Finally, let's talk about the implications more widely. We talked last video, a couple of months ago now, about how this could be seen as censorship, seeing that this is a case that is really being brought by the president's wife. I've already talked to you about how if you're a normal civilian and you rock up to a police station and tell them so-and-so is harassing you and bullying you, and I have literally done that in my capacity as a private citizen, not as a lawyer, normally they just send you off home. They tell you to go private. They tell you to not read it, whatever it is. Luckily, in my case, it did get escalated and something was done about it. But normally, that's not what ends up happening, and people tend to get dismissed. The only reason I had some recourse when I went to the police is because when they checked the file, they found a pre-existing recent stalking case against that same defendant. We had taken that person to court. We got a restraining order. And so when the stalking moved from in-person to online, the police were like, oh, whoa, there's a history here. And so they did something about it. So I will stand by what I said a couple of months ago. If this is going to be the standard, if the president's wife is able to get the government, the prosecution, to prosecute private citizens for what they say online, then let it be available as an avenue for every alleged victim of this behavior. Whether you're a prince or a pauper, all I ask for is equality in this realm. Because, as I've said, I'm not seeing that. I'm not just talking about France. I'm talking across the globe. My case was in Australia. We know people get harassed and bullied everywhere, and yet the police and the prosecution tend to say, look, this is a personal matter. And if anything, they might step in if things really start getting serious, in the sense that maybe it's becoming a physical threat, or the person, the victim, starts to fear for their lives. But why leave it to that point? Brigitte herself has said she has done this not just to protect herself and defend her reputation and shut this down, but also to set a precedent to protect other people, particularly teenagers. If that doesn't end up happening, if nothing changes in the status quo and people are still turned back because they're just not important enough for these cases to be prosecuted, for precious time and resources to be allocated to these prosecutions, then it's just going to start looking like censorship. A remedy exclusive to the elites. So, to sum it up, Brigitte initially succeeded in her defamation case against the two female defendants. That was then overturned on appeal, and that is now being appealed. And then now we have this success, which is quite more devastating for the defendants involved, because it involves getting a criminal record. Unlike a defamation case where, of course, you wouldn't secure a criminal record simply for being found liable, not guilty, liable for defamation, which is what would happen to Candace if she loses. I will be keeping an eye out on this case and any case in relation to Brigitte Macron and these allegations that are being made against her, which of course includes any updates in relation to their defamation case against Candace in Delaware. That's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.
Shout out to Beyond Pluto. I never understood the name. Somebody tried to tell me, explain it to me, but shout out to Beyond Pluto. Shout out. I like that. Okay, so if you just jumped in, the update, if you will, the most recent, pull this up, the most recent update on the Macron versus Candace Owens case is just as follows. Everybody's turned in all their homework, and now the judge has to decide whether they're going to continue or they're going to throw it out. So everybody's turned in all their work. We haven't read the motion or their response, but it was turned in, it was filed, and all that means is just that we're going to hurry up, wait. That's it. So I hate to do that to y'all. I thought it was going to be something more exciting than that, but that's it. So it's a hurry up and wait type of situation. But because you all jumped into the best live chat on the internet, I'm going to look at somebody over on Twitter. His name is Cinema Shogun. He has been crushing the topic of Candace. And I might talk about this tonight when we go live tonight as well. But, oh, crackers, what did I just do? I just closed it out. I might talk about it again tonight when I go live, and we will be going live on time today. We won't have to delay it today. We'll be going live on time. Okay, I'm just trying to find it. Okay, so Cinema Shogun, if y'all have been following him, he gives an update of the show pretty much every day. And I wanted to just look at this one because apparently Candace has gotten very, very prolific in going on live after the show is over and doing like a little Instagram or whatever of that nature. So let me just read this real quick. And shout out to, again, Cinema Shogun, excellent content creator, really hold it down in the Twitter space. Wow. Candace Owens is starting to spiral out of control. Remember when the maroon shirts were going to bring everything together? I remember that. Shout out to the maroon shirts. And then the Egyptian planes were going to bring everything together. Remember that? And then the Fort Hawktua was supposed to bring everything together. Well, guess what? None of that ever happened. But don't worry. Now, the Liberty theory is going to finally bring everything together. Just trust her this time, bro. But boy, oh boy, it gets worse. She has now announced that she's officially going back to Dreamland for evidence. You know what that means, right? You know what that means, right? It means she's going to accuse someone of deleting Charlie because she supposedly saw it in a dream. I mean, that's 100% we talked about last night because she saw it in a dream. No, that's not a joke. That's how we got here in the first place, because she managed to convince an army of idiots that her dreams and feelings should be viewed as evidence that Charlie was deleted by his friends. And who cares if Candace's dreams are wrong? Because as Candace says in this clip, it's going to get fun. Because apparently talking about your best friend's assassination is always so much fun. All right, let me bring this in so y'all can hear what she said, just in case you didn't hear it. Shout out again to Cinema Shogun. All right, let's bring this in. It's a very quick snippet.
Together, Peter, when I started prodding the liberty. Okay, this week we really have just so much for you. And I never thought that we would land here. I never thought we would wind up here when I started prodding the Liberty University story. And it seems to be pulling everything together. People, our guts were screaming at us, something about AmFest, the fake thing that was feeling like a veneer. You are not going to believe what I'm going to tell you today. And now we have to go back to me telling you the full details on my dream and who I saw in my dream as the person, one of the people who betrayed Charlie. And you know how much they hate when I talk about my dreams. So buckle up. It's going to get fun. Join us in the link below. Okay, this week we really have just so much for you. And I know.
And I said this last night, that she really does not like that people don't take her seriously. Like, nobody takes her seriously at this point. So yeah, people laugh at you. It's not that the people don't like it. They think it's funny. And I'm just praying you don't dream that I did it, because then your little clowns will think this. So yeah, I'm live right now. It's not recorded like Candace's show. No, we think it's kind of funny that people actually think this makes sense. That you're gonna go back to your dreams. That's weird. Like, you're dialing up your dreams. You're intentionally going to dream things that you're going to bring into the normal world, the non-dream world, and apply those. Like, just think about that. Oh, I can just make myself dream and get a solution to a problem that I can come into the world and actually apply. Okay. If that makes sense to you, if that makes sense to you, Candace, rock on like Donkey Kong. Shout out for sure. I just wanted to go over that with y'all. Again, we will be going live today. I guess whenever she goes live, I will, because my big girl, somebody's gonna pick her up for me. So I will go live normal time today. But I wanted to just go over that with y'all. Thank y'all so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for the 100 and so of y'all that hopped into the best live chat on the internet. Please make sure you hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. And make sure you jump into the most electrifying comment section as well. Let me know what you think about the Macron case. What's the judge going to decide? Is he going to decide to throw this case out, or is he going to decide, hey, let's keep it moving. Let's move on forward. What do you think he's going to do? And now the ball is in the judge's court. There's no other motions that we need to file, no other arguments that need to be made. So it's going to be on the judge to make the decision. Let me know what you think. Everybody, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all this evening. So until then, everybody, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.